Hey guys, my name is Amy. Welcome to Transplants. And in this video we are going to do some garden tours. I'm doing this channel with my friend Kim. She is a transplant from another state. I'm a transplant from another state. We both transplanted to eastern North Carolina along the coastline out here, and we've figured out that we've had to basically relearn how to garden. So a lot of this is experiments to see what works and what doesn't. Hopefully you find it very educational, very entertaining. And so please join me in my garden tours. We call this one the fenced-in garden because it was made before when another tenant, shall we say, lived here. And they built this garden and fenced in around it. It's a very small garden. I would bet it's like a maybe 15 by, I don't know, 8 feet. So it's a rather small garden. Out in front of it, I have set these pots that I have overflowed into. We'll take just a minute to look into the pots. And the first big pot here has a lilac bush that I'm trying to grow. This will be the second one that I'm trying to grow. And the first one, it grew a little bit and then it just didn't work out. As you can see, I'm getting a little nervous as the top leaves on this one are starting to wilt again. I'm not sure if this is just too hot out here or what the problem is. And next to that, I have a habanero. And next to that, I have a jigsaw, which is basically like a jalapeno with different colored peppers. They're not all going to be green. But look how beautiful the leaves are on this jigsaw. I just love that. And along the fencing, all the way around this garden, pretty much, I have added Ashley cucumbers. So you will see that throughout this tour. Let's go ahead and go into the main gate here. And right off the bat you see not a green stalk. Just a stack of the pots that I can buy at the Dollar Tree. And I've put herbs in there. I've got a hot and spicy oregano, regular oregano. I've got some anise coming up, some thyme, some heal all, some basil, cilantro, oregano in another pot, and lemon balm. So that is that. And then I'm going to veer you over to the left first, and we'll go over here. Like I said, there's the cucumbers coming up along the fence, and I've got a row of onions, obviously. And right here I have a habanero next to a hot banana pepper. And this pepper, I'm not sure what it is. It looks to me like it's going to be a bell pepper, probably. We'll have to wait and see when it grows. Now, this in the tomato cage is a Borghese, which I tried out. I'm not that impressed with it. It's slow to grow and put off. And they seem to be harder to get from seedlings to this plant that you see today. And then next to that, I have a regular bell pepper. There's still some lettuce in here, and some beets. I need to go ahead and pull my beets. I've put some marigolds right in there. And this is a gypsy pepper. I believe that's probably going to be multicolored bell peppers like California Wonder or something like that. And this is cubanella pepper. And again, that's kind of going to be like a bell pepper, multicolored. And I stuck some borage there. And then behind the Borghese, I have a new pepper that I know nothing about. And that is this guy here. That's Trident, that I bought at a nursery not too long ago. So then if we go back to the center, you see the herb stack. It looks like I've got some leftover volunteer spinach. Maybe I dropped some seeds there. But next to that is a ghost pepper. And next to that is the Jamaican Scotch bonnet. So that's going to be really hot and really good to make my jerk seasonings. And then if we just go directly behind that, we have a jalapeno, some leftover butter crunch lettuce, and another little jalapeno there. And this one here is called the Orange Blaze, and that's going to be like a bright orange bell pepper. In the corner I have stuck some squash there, and it's slowly coming along. This potato is volunteer, absolutely volunteer. And then I have a serrano, which is leaning on my okra there. But as you can see, I might need to stilt him up or replace him. And there we have a bell pepper. And in this cage, we have just a tomato. I'm not sure what type it is. It kind of volunteered in a potting mix cup. So I'm going to assume that that's either a homestead or beefsteak. And if we go behind this tomato cage, which has another one of those bourgees, you'll see I had a delicious that I stuck in there because I've recently pulled out Brussels sprouts. Were in this corner, and I've pulled those out. And along here I had carrots, and I've already pulled those out. And this is okra, and then a stash of flowers there, calendula, marigolds, and what have you. Now if we step out of here, we have this garden over here that I've added, and it's gone through quite an evolution, really. So this square one, this is probably about 16 feet by 16 feet. And that was there last year, is when we added, no, 2 years now, that we've added this. But before we get there, I did add this in the diagonal between these two. There was a spot. My goodness, free spot to plant something. So I put this board in, added our dirt, and these are watermelon, and the big one climbing up the cage already is cantaloupe. And I'm hoping to train the cantaloupe and the watermelon to use this cage, and I'll probably have to make some kind of supports for the melon as they go up. But this is kind of an experiment to see if it's doable. And in the corner I stuck a pepper, and I'm not sure what kind of pepper that is. So we'll have to let it grow and find out what it is. And that is the same case for this one here. And in this pot I have a Tabasco. Now if we go over here, you'll see right there in the front I added a tree. I was so desperate for shade the last couple of years. As you can see, we have no shade in the yards. So I've planted quite a few trees throughout the last 5 years. I thought this was an almond tree. Turns out it is a common dogwood. So we'll see what happens with that. Right now it's currently being attacked by the asparagus bed that I'm trying to establish right up front. And if we go on the other side of it here, you can see that this is empty. That's because I had my garlic in there, and I've processed my garlic and did wonderful. I sowed that in last fall, and this was the first year that I've done garlic or tried garlic, and I will be doing that now because it was super easy. Now in the pot here we have an African daisy from seed, and over here we have Shasta daisy from seed. And as we step in this garden, the first thing that you see are 3 okra plants. And we'll just go down this roll here. And that's a poblano. This is going to be a red bell pepper. And this is another poblano, followed up by a serrano and a cayenne. And this is a Cajun Bell, which is a new one for me. I bought a 6 packet of Cajun bells and spread them throughout the gardens. I don't know what to expect from that. I'm guessing from the name it's going to be a hot pepper. And this is a marigold in the corner. This over here is a habanero. And I stuck an okra just kind of randomly out here because when this all grows up, let me step back. When this all grows up, it just kind of felt like that spot was going to be empty and I would have enough room for something else. So I stuck an okra there. I've never raised okra before. The okra's all raised from seeds. The hippie likes okra. I do not, but I do recognize the properties it adds to the soil, so why not? And this is a cayenne next to my burdock, using the burdock for the burdock root in teas, medicinal. And these are delicious tomatoes in the first 2 cages here, and right in front of it I've stuck one of those Cajun bell peppers. This is some cilantro overgrown here, and in this cage we have a new doll tomato. Along with this cage here is also a new doll tomato. And if you look behind there, there's a bell pepper. As you can see, it's already got a pepper growing on it. And in the very back corner, I put a marigold. If we go behind this, behind this new doll here in the cage, you can see that I've got potatoes down here and some basil. And this is also a new doll in the cage. This is a Cajun bell, one of those Cajun bells. This is another one of those jigsaw peppers. And I just think the plant here is so beautiful. I can't wait to see the multicolored peppers that come on that. And this is a tomato plant, obviously, where I have also put a banana pepper plant. Let me get my shadow out of the way. A banana pepper plant right here, and it's probably going to be too hot, but I'm trying carrots in here because this is my shadiest garden, so that's a fresh set of carrots there. And in this cage we have another, probably a new doll, and as you can see I've added a Cajun bell right here at the end. The very end cap though is, look at that. That has grown quite a bit. That is a ghost pepper. And next to that, I've added a Thai hot pepper. Now, we're about through this garden. I'll start back over here at the other end, on the other side of these new dolls. And you will see that I've stuck some squash in the corner. One's doing good, one's kind of failing there. I'm not sure why. And then this is empty, or it looks empty, but what's in here is peanuts. So I'm waiting on peanuts to come up. I've never raised peanuts before, so this is experimental at this point. And this is a pepper that I'm going to have to wait until it grows up to see what it is. This is pepperoncini pepper for Mississippi roast. And at the very end is where I've stuck the last Thai hot pepper plant. There's the greenhouse, of course, with all these potted plants that still need a home all over the place. And we had a back deck that we've added this trellising to, and this is jasmine that is growing up and over, and I hope it comes all the way across to shade that in. In the meantime, I do have that shade cloth up there that really helps. Up here on the edge we have a moringa. That's the tree of life. I have 2 of those. I have one here and one in a smaller pot over there. This is a mix of herbs next to that. It's got yarrow, basil, thyme, and the pot next to that is such a menagerie of volunteers from last year. I've planted flowers in there before, tomatoes in that thing before, and a little bit of everything has volunteered to come up. Now, I did pull some passion flower from next door and added that. So you see these really strong vines, that is the passion flower. I just pulled that up last year from next door at the home house and just buried it right here, and this is how strong it is already. And at the very bottom of that trellis there, I've got some dragon's tongue, which I thought were climbers. They are a bush bean. We live and we learn. And then here I have a yellow monster bell pepper. Here I have a jalapeno. This is a red bell pepper. These are going to be zinnias. And this is another shishito, which is my first year having the shishito. They're not a hot pepper. They look like a wrinkly bell pepper. My Amish paste. I put some flour mix there and some calendula in the corner. There's some basil and some leftover lavender that actually decided to survive. And in the front tomato cage I have aroma. Now, if we go over here too, you'll see I've got hanging plants. Those are just kind of random flowers. Up there I have the begonias and that's just a tropical plant. This is a lime tree. So I'm holding out a lot of hope for that. I just picked it up at Tractor Supply. We'll see how it does. And these two palm ferns are they were given to me. I've just acquired them and they live here. And this is in the little pot here. I have marshmallow, which is a medicinal herb. It actually grows as a weed, but it has medicinal properties. And the little squatty plant there is heal all. It's also medicinal. We have a grapevine that I'm hoping will come up this side, and we will have passion fruit, jasmine, and grapes covering and shading all of that one day, along with kiwi. I'll show you in a minute. I have a kiwi on the other post, but let's see. We've got little grapes thinking about happening there. Last year I did get grapes off of this, and last year was the first year that I had the grapes. So if we step back up on this side to show you, I've got a little bed here and I put green beans and trail of tear beans. Somehow some passion flower has found its way into it. That passion flower is very evasive. Once you get it going, it ends up just really taking off and going. And we have a little visitor with us today. Those things are cool. They're everywhere. And in this pot is a kiwi tree. Now when I hear tree, I think tree, but this is, as you can see, rather viney. More like a kiwi vine. But that's okay. It has a great place to live, and we'll see what it does. See, I have all the gardens this year wrapped in this bunny fencing because we do have hungry bunnies. It's very hot and dry, but I'm going to try to get through this garden tour of what we call the back garden. The reason we do is the furthest back on the properties combined. The first couple of years that we had this one here, we ignored it a lot. However, this year was the first year that I got to use some really good dirt that we used out. We made out of composting wood chips and adding all of our kitchen scraps to it, stirring it around, doing the whole compost, make your own dirt thing for 4 years. So this dirt's 4 years old. We put it in here. I would say this garden is probably 16 by 16. So let's go ahead and take the tour and see what we've got in here. Now right off the bat, what you see mostly is the Trail of Tears beans coming up the cattle panel trellis that I have in this garden, and I think that's so beautiful. This is the first year that I've done the Trail of Tear beans, and the vines at least are impressive. So let's go ahead and walk in here and see what we got going on. On one side of the trellis I have cucumbers, and I planted green beans at the bottom, thinking they were pole beans. They are not. They are bush beans, so I have to dig around there for my green beans, but we are already eating green beans off of those. And in the first tomato cage here, we have a cherry tomato that just kind of needed a home. I didn't know where else to stick him. And then another tomato, which I'm not even sure what kind it is, that I stuck at the front there with some borage in the middle. Now, coming around from the gate, as you can see, I've cut it a little bit shorter than the rest of the fence, so it's easier for me to step in. I've got some ginger planted here, and if you look really close, my ginger is starting to come up there, so that's exciting. I had turmeric ginger last year. You can break off pieces of that and save it in cardboard and sawdust, is how I saved it over the winter and replanted it for more. And this here is a jalapeno pepper with some flour mix shoved in the corner. I like to do that. Over here we have an ancho grande, which is going to be a hot, spicier hot poblano basically. And I've planted some okra here. Again, I don't like okra, but this has turned out to be a pretty plant. And the hippie loves okra. I don't know how he eats it. I think it's awful, but it does have benefits as far as giving back to this soil and making my soil rich. So if we turn here, and I'm going to try to keep my shadow out of this. Here we have a habanero. It's supposed to be a habanero. And it's kind of stressed. I'm not sure what's going on with it, but if you can see, the top leaves are showing some stress in the new growth. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that guy. And then, not so smartly, I have hidden, oh look, I need to come out here and pick cucumbers already. Do y'all see that? This is a serrano pepper. I'm either going to have to sacrifice or move to another location because it's never going to make it under these massive cucumbers. These are Ashley cucumbers, and they are really starting to put off. But see, there's another serrano pepper that needs a new home. And in the middle, I've got just a pot. I put seeds for peppermint. You see that's coming up very easily. Let's go back here and go down the line though. Back to this guy that's having some problems. And then here next to it, I have a perfectly healthy jalapeno. And in the corner, I have 3 bell peppers. And this next to the peppermint is a yellow monster pepper. So it's going to be like a yellow bell pepper. Again, flower seed in the back. And this is a row of 5, I believe, beefsteak tomatoes. And the one that looks sickly is because this is its 2nd year living. It got transplanted out of here from a pot that had been in the greenhouse all winter. We have been eating tomatoes off of this one tomato since last year. Obviously, it's indeterminate. I can't say that it's a beefsteak or a homestead. If I had to guess, it's a homestead. With the homestead tomato is semi-indeterminate, whatever that means. And then if we go across, as you can see, I'm doing the Florida weave here, and I don't know that I'm a huge fan of that trellising system for my tomatoes. But on the other side, I have more cucumbers. Again, those are the Ashley cucumbers. And on the back side of this trellis, which I'll show you, I'll go out of the garden and show you the back side, we have the trail of tear beans coming up that side. But let's peek on the other side of these tomatoes here, and you'll see I've got more flowers. I've stuck a squash down there. I stuck an okra down there. And down here is a pepper that I'm not sure what kind it is. So we're going to have to let that one grow and figure out what it puts off. And there's some borage. Everything here is from seed except for this one tomato plant that I brought from the greenhouse. Now let's go around the other side here. Let's go around the other side. I did have a tomato fail, so I had to replace it. That's why this one here is a little bit smaller than the rest of them. And as you can see, I was rooting some lavender there in the pot with this tomato over the winter in the greenhouse. And in this corner, again in the front right corner, we have basil and calendula. Now, let me just go outside of this garden and walk around to show you the other, be easier with the camera, with the other end. You can see, never mind the junk in the back, but that is an impressive garden. And it's been so hot and dry here. I'm very impressed. In the corner, we've got the wildflower seeds. We have this here, that's Mexican sunflower. And I've put a couple of those in here. There are 2 Tabasco pepper plants here. And I've stuck a squash in there and some calendula. So, if you want to just look at that, how beautiful is that? Those Trail of Tear beans are just going crazy. I really hope that they put off as much as the vines are showy. We are in the front yard of the workhouse right now. I figure I'll take you through here. On the stairs, I have a few pots here. In the back pot there that looks like a rusty cauldron, that is just mint, sweet mint. And then I have some mums, and I have a flower that I've recently bought from a nursery. And on the bottom 2 steps, I have just regular mums. Obviously, there's nothing in that tub yet. I say yet, wait for it. Over here, we have a tub that is now being taken over by elephant ears. In the spring, it's much prettier because it's full of tulips. And let's not look at the bird bath too much. Now over here, I have 2 rose bushes. One of them was here previously. This bed was actually here before I was. I've put some lavender in it and a few bulb plants, some rosemary in the corner there. And we have sprinkled in some strawberries, but I've already eaten the strawberries off of it. Most of these are bulbed plants. Some cannas coming up in here. And some more elephant ears. And I'm not sure what this is because it was here before I got here. Now, if I swing you around without making you dizzy, you'll recall that I planted the bay leaf tree. I did a video on, is it a tree or a bush? And that's the bay leaf tree, directly in front of the workhouse. And then in front of that is a cherry tree. And I just planted that last spring. So it's a year old, officially. And if we look over to the right, you'll see that we have a grape arbor here. And I'm pretty excited because let me take you around this side. We actually have grapes coming up. There are some grapes there, if you can see that. So that is going to be fun. And we've got lots of grapes coming up. I have 3 different types of grapes. And then if I swing you around this way behind me is the elderberry. You also saw me berry with the bay leaf tree. And that nasty azalea bush there. There's the pretty azalea bush through there. And there's a bridge that goes over to the other property. This is a baby volunteer mimosa. And there was a hole in the yard next to it, so I just put a gardenia that I had propagated right there. Now, let's swing you around this way. And you can see that I've got wisteria. We do trim this almost to death in the fall because it can take over if you let it, obviously. In the corner here we have just another mimosa, but this is a lot of times people will pay the hippie to remove trees and he can uproot them. This is a camellia that has been uprooted and transplanted to our yard. And we have this one here. It had really pretty white flowers on it this spring. We just did this, probably in about February or March is when this got transplanted here. And we've got one at the home house yard too. And the same goes for this guy here. And then we have a very thirsty magnolia tree here. But this up here is my bulb garden. Every year for Christmas we just get a little cedar tree. We decorate it and I throw it on the porch and then we plant it somewhere. This year we have planted it in a cut stump that was hollowed out, and we've added some compost around it where I buried some bulbs. And this was primarily a bulb. I'll come back and show you when everything gets bloomed. This is really pretty about midsummer. And then I put the sunflowers in the back. And this is my attempt. It has been really a drought situation around here lately. But this is my attempt at what everybody is doing on Pinterest that makes it look like they're spilling out. And there's a mimosa here on the corner. And got some naked ladies just kind of by themselves over there. And if we look behind, I just added these 2 crepe myrtles behind the bulb garden last summer. So those are growing pretty well. So there's a live oak right there, and then of course the big maple tree. Now, if we come back up to the bridge, we see a rose bush here, and behind the greenhouse I've put 3 big pots. One has a blueberry bush in it, evading elephant ears, and I've tried potatoes. I put potatoes in this one. It was a little bit early. We got hit with a really hard frost, so this is not doing as well as those potatoes there, as you can see. And then if we come along the greenhouse, back into the garden area, there's another bridge here. It's a little bit sloppy right now, but I've got rosemary on both sides. Okay guys, now you see what I mean by Kim's gardens are very organized, modern, seem more planned. That's because they are. We didn't set out to garden like this. We're running a tree service off of the same property, which can be kind of hard to balance sharing that. We started with one little garden. We went to the store, we bought some peppers and some tomatoes or whatever caught our fancy, put it in the ground. Since then we've added a bed here, we've added another garden here, and so that's why my gardens are all over the place. It is just like we looked around and said, where can we add another bed that would be convenient? And that's what happened. But I do hope that you enjoyed the maze of gardens over here. And if you did, like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below. And tell your friends, share the video. Thank you guys. Have a great day.